We're ready to begin?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, it's June 8th of 2020. This is 7 o'clock planning board time, and this is the planning board. Due to the current COVID-19 crisis, town hall is closed, and therefore this meeting will be held via Zoom teleconference. Persons may attend and participate in the hearing by using the online Zoom application at https://zoom.us/join or via phone at 1-929-205-6099 US, New York, using meeting ID 828-8805-6488. Password is 157729. Comments may also be submitted in accordance with the instructions on the town's website at www.suttonmass.org on the planning board's page. And for tonight's building present, we have Bob Vargas, who is chairperson, Wally Baker, a vice chair. We have Mike Gagan, Kyle Bergeson, and we have William Talcott as the associate who's going to be stepping in for Scott Paul among the missing. The first item on the agenda that I have is a public hearing for a lot treat at number 453 Boston Road. And Jennifer, if you can inform us as to what's going on there.
All right, Mike Gagan, do you have the updated hearing notice?
Yes, I do. I can read it. Yes.
All right,
Yep.
if Mike can start
In
with.
accordance with the provisions of, yep. In accordance with the provisions of Section 6H retreat lots of the Sutton zoning bylaw, the planning board will hold a public hearing on the application of Travis Perry of Sutton, Mass. For property owned by the C.A. Delorio Living Trust, Sutton, Mass. Located at 453 Boston Road. The applicant seeks to create a 16.6 acre retreat lot with 50 foot of frontage. The hearing will be held on Monday, June 8th, 2020 at 7 p.m. This will be a virtual meeting in accordance with the issued by the governor during the current state of emergency. There will be no in-person attendance by the public.
That was an interesting effect.
People have already heard all the passwords and IDs, so they have a phone number they can call if they need to do that. Thank you, Michael.
All right, so I believe we have Margaret Bacon here on this one, as well as Travis Perry. So if Travis or Margaret, Travis, why don't you explain what you're trying to do, and then Margaret can maybe handle any technical details. We'll hear the presentation from you guys first, then take any public comments through the chairman. The chairman will conduct that process, and then we'll take any board comments, and again, the chairman will conduct that process.
Good.
So Travis or Margaret, if you want to unmute yourself, and then you can go ahead and tell us what things are about, and we'll have Kyle, our technical wizard, share the plans that you've submitted to the screen so everybody can see them.
Hi, Jen. This is Travis here. I think Margaret's going to make my presentation tonight, but real quickly, I can just speak to the board about what we're looking to do. The lot over at 453 Boston Road is approximately a 16-acre lot. It's got the 50 foot of frontage, as you said. I'm looking to build a house on that for my personal residence, and we're looking to do that as a retreat lot. You folks should have the plan that Margaret put together. Looks to me as if we've met all the criteria that the town puts forward for those lots. And I'll let Margaret dive into the detail of the analysis she's done to demonstrate that it does that.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Bacon. I'm an engineer with Civil Site Engineering. And basically, we have an existing lot here, 16-acre lot, like Travis mentioned. We're not asking to subdivide it or anything like that, just asking for a special permit to do a retreat lot. Due to several site constraints on this lot, mostly wetlands and soil, there's really only one location on this lot that's suitable for a septic system, and that's up in the upper left-hand corner, as you see on the plan there. The applicants tried perking numerous other locations on this lot, but due to ledge and just very silty, loamy soil, we weren't able to get any other place on this lot to perk except for what's shown on the plan. So with that said, we've already been through the Conservation Commission and we went through the alternative analysis to see if there was any other way that lot other than what we show on the plan that would be less intrusive to the environment. And the Conservation Commission agreed with us that this proposed driveway runs, actually, most of the driveway is an existing road, except for where we, that small pond. We're going to leave the proposed driveway left of that so we don't impact the pond. Long driveway, 12-foot wide, asphalt driveway with a 15-foot cleared width. The commission did approve this last Wednesday. And only a waiver we're requesting is the utilities. After conversations with National Grid, it's really not feasible to have underground utilities from the roadway all the way up to that house. I think that pretty much covers most of it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. Good job. And there were some people that the public want to have any comments or questions. We'll take them next.
All right, so is there anybody in the public who wants to speak on this? If you could unmute yourself and just let us know or raise your hand on the iPad if you know how to, or on the meeting app if you know how to do that. No? All right, let's see who we've got on the call. Brian Melissi isn't here for that. Byron's not here for that. G-Melia, is G-Melia here for that? Do they have any comments?
I do not. I'm getting information from my mother, who is going to be in a butter at 455, and I just wanted to better answer her questions about what's going to be happening behind her house. But I've seen these plans already, and I don't have any questions at this point.
Great, thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, Lauren Leclerc, any comments on this?
Hi, Jen. No comments. Just tuning in for some information. Again, I've also looked at the plans as well, but no questions or comments at the moment.
All right. And then we've got a few phone numbers. 276-5697. No comments. And 909-0663. Any comments? No? All right. All right. So kind of one final call there. Oh,
Hello.
wait.
Hi, Jen. This is Carol Clausen, David Lopez from 460 Boston Road. So we're here just to listen to gather information. We were curious to hear if a perk had been successful, because we knew in the past when things were happening behind our home that there were issues. So now we've learned that has perked in that back left part. So we understand.
Great. All right. All right, so I guess we'll move to board comments or questions, and then we can check one more time kind of as we wrap it up to see if there's any additional public comment.
Okay, thanks. And this is Bob Largis back to talking again. Are there any questions from any board members, any concerns?
I have 2 questions. Just curious on the plan itself, Margaret. Is that an existing cart road that goes off to the right of the parcel?
Yeah, the lighter shade gray, yes, there's Cart Road. It actually, it comes down from Boston Road and it splits off in 2 directions, to the right and to the left.
And what are those, I saw in the plan you had there were some colored circles. What does that designate?
That's the replication area for wetlands being impacted over by the pond.
So that will be, okay, so that will be the proposed replication area.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Wally, any comments? Questions?
Yes, I have one, just a question, because the audio is breaking up on me. You might understand there will not be any underground utilities. They'll be on poles.
That's correct. From the street into probably past that pond, it'll be above ground. And we're having the utilities go in on the right-hand side of that driveway, or we're recommending to National Grid that the poles go in on the right-hand side of the driveway. But there's actually there's a tree line along that side too. But yeah, after speaking with National Grid, and maybe Travis could speak a little on that. It's not feasible to take overground, go underground, and then go overground by the wetland crossing and then underground again. So it's not really feasible to do that. So we're probably going to go overground, overhead until we get past the pond, and then from there it'll go underground. That's the plan.
Okay,
Got it?
yes.
Okay. Any other questions from any of the board members?
Not really at this time, Bob. I was awaiting to see that the Conservation Commission had approved the access, which I understand from Jen that they have. So it looks like the one waiver is the not having the underground lines, which doesn't
Okay.
seem to be too big of an issue for that, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have questions.
Not this time, thank you.
All right. So Jen, we need this is a public hearing. I have some notes here from Jen, who reviewed documents and make some general comments here. And if someone wants, if there's any other questions, I have a report back from there's no taxes due. The let's see, fire department has no comments at this time, and we have a copy of the covenant. I'm ready for someone. We can move on this, Jenna.
Well, we have one public comment I would like to read in. And then Travis or Margaret can address, I believe the comment's been addressed, but I want to read the comment into the record because I do not believe the individual is on this meeting. And then Travis or Margaret can tell us if and how this has been addressed. This is a handwritten letter, and it is from Mrs. Lang and or from Brad and Ginny Lang. And it says, thanks for the opportunity to raise any concerns regarding property at 451 Boston Road. We have no intentions of halting or delaying construction through the right-of-way to the property. Our two concerns regarding our property, first being water from the roadway. For years, the water ran down the easement to the wetlands due to vegetation buildup and road something. Our property is now the lowest. It gets pretty bad running along the stone wall. We would like to see a drainage swale installed on the high side of the easement to drain water to wetlands. This will ensure that our stone wall can remain intact. Thank you. I believe that's in Ginny Lang on Boston Road.
You want me to comment? We did include a swale right along the edge of the driveway from Boston Road, adjacent to the driveway down towards the wetlands, so that any storm water from our site would not be going over on this property. You can see that on the plan.
So you're breaking up a little bit, Margaret, but what I heard is on the revised plan, and that is in the board's files, there is a swale has been added along the left side of the driveway. And that is a grass swale, and that's to catch and contain the runoff that Ms. Lang or the Langs are concerned about. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And Jen, if I could just add that I know Brad Langewell, and I stopped over and had a conversation with him about this when I started to look at the property as we were putting the plan together and as we were submitting this. And the Langes have expressed that they're very pleased that this made it onto the plan, and that this is going to prevent that shared stone wall from deteriorating. And the primary complaint was really one that they felt that the drainage on Boston Road has changed over the years as those elevations and topography have changed with pavement over time. But this is going to correct that issue, and Brad appears to be very happy with the solution.
Great. All
Good
right.
job.
So if there no other public comments, we'll give it a 10 feet to see if there's any other public comment.
Yeah, this is Gary Mealy. Just one more question. There is no possibility that this could be subdivided in the future, correct? There would be no other homes that could be on this 16-acre property?
No.
Once
Okay.
the retreat lot plan and covenant are recorded and they pull the permit for the house, at that point, they can't submit any other applications. Until they pull the building permit for the house and start getting things permitted, they haven't legally began to exercise the permit, so they could come in and put in a subdivision application or something like that. But as soon as the plan is filed, the permits are all filed, and they apply for that building permit and start that process, then the permit has been exercised and done is done.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good.
So you have minimum conditions in the memo from me, and I would maybe add a condition that says basically the drainage concerns along the shared lot stone wall between this property and Lang will be monitored through construction and just post-construction to make sure that no damage results. And, you know, if you're getting any issues there, you'll need to adjust that swale to take care of any unanticipated flow there.
Well, if one of the board members, I'm hinting at Mike Gagan, if you could make minimum conditions for approval and add that you have written down, we can
Okay.
ask for a vote and move forward.
Okay. the minimum conditions of approval. Number one, a recorded copy of the decision, covenant, and plan must be received by the planning department within 3 months. Number two, approval of all other applicable boards, departments, and commissions. Number three, the driveway shall have a maximum grade of 12% and a minimum paved width of 12 feet width and 15 feet cleared width. Number four, the house number shall be clearly visible at the street in both directions of travel. Number five, no occupancy permit shall be granted until all conditions and requirements of this bylaw are 100% complete. And number six, any drainage concerns during the construction must be addressed with the abutters.
Thank you.
I would say during and after. And then we
Okay,
forgot one action was
Yep.
to vote on the waiver request for underground utilities.
right.
So we're going to do that first. And I believe, Margaret, what you said, Travis, you can verify, is that you would go above ground until you clear the pond. And at that point, you would go underground. Is that correct?
I believe that's the plan, correct, Travis?
Yeah, that's correct, Margaret. We're going to go above ground till we get over the conservation, and then from there, we'll take it below ground to the house.
Good. Great.
All right. So we need to first do a motion to grant that waiver if you so choose. And then the second one would be to grant the special permit with the minimum conditions that Mike Gagan enumerated. So when you make the motion in the second, can you please say your name so we know, everybody on the meeting knows who made the motion in second?
I, Kyle Ferguson, make a motion to waiver for underground utility bill.
Thank you, Kyle. Need a second?
I, Wally Baker.
I, Michael Gagan, will second the motion.
Thank you, Michael. All that. Then I'll call for a vote. This is Bob Lodges, and I'm in favor, so I'm an aye. Next is Wally.
Wally Baker, I vote aye.
Okay. Next is Mike Gagan
Mike Gagan, aye.
and Bill Talcott.
William Talcott, aye.
Okay, so that's 4-0-0. And that was for the retreat lot.
You forgot Kyle.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kyle. Sorry about that.
I, Kyle, vote aye.
Okay, we get 5-0-0. And that's for the retreat lot?
Yep. Now you need a motion for the retreat lot. That was the waiver.
And we'll take the same sequence. This is Bob Lodges, and my vote is aye for the conditions of approval, all 6 of them. Next is Wally.
Wally Baker votes aye.
Okay. Next is Bill Talcott.
William Talcott, aye.
All right. Mike Gagan.
Mike Gagan, aye.
And last but not least, Kyle Burgess.
Aye.
Okay.
Did I miss a motion and a second there?
I believe Michael made the motion and I seconded.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Now you just need a motion to close and you're ready to roll.
Okay. We need a motion to close this.
Kyle Ferguson, make a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Wally Baker seconds it.
Thank you. All those in favor? This is Bob Lodges. It's closed. Yeah, aye. Wally?
Aye. Oh, Wally Baker, aye. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
William Talcott, aye.
Mike Gagan?
Mike Gagan, aye.
And go ahead. And last but Kyle Ferguson. Thank you. Good job.
Thanks to the planning board. You guys are working through some difficult circumstances here. So thanks for getting together to do this for me.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Okay, 7:10. This is another public hearing. It's a scenic roadway alternation, public shade tree at 196 Mended Road. Mike Hagan, you've been doing a great job.
Okay. Let me just pull it up real quick. In accordance with the provisions of MGL C4015C and C87-3, scenic roadway law and public shade tree law, as well as Article 15 of the Sutton General Bylaws, scenic roadways. The planning board will hold a public hearing on the application of Greg Podstraka of Douglas, Mass. The applicant requests permission to remove 4 unhealthy and 1 healthy tree within the town's right-of-way, either side of a proposed driveway on land owned by him at 196 Mendon Road. The hearing will be held on Monday, June 28th, 2020 at 7:10 p.m. This will be a virtual meeting in accordance with orders issued by the governor during the current state of emergency.
Thank you, Michael.
Yep.
Okay. So, Greg. Are
Good
you on?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, all. Thank you for the taking time.
Great. All right. Kyle, I will have Kyle share the plan that you've provided. And
Okay.
if you can just tell us about what we're seeing on the plan
Mhm.
and why you need to remove those trees, that would be good.
Okay.
All right. So give it a sec. There we go.
Good luck.
All right. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay. So this retreat lot, it's a simple case, unlike the one you just guys went over it. But I only have a 50-foot of front here, and there is one birch tree that is still healthy, and I'd like to remove it to gain access to put a driveway and underground utilities. In lieu of that, I was hoping to remove 4, or I think there's 4 unhealthy trees. I mean, they're completely dead, which has one thing and could damage utilities. I met with tree warden, Mr. Stencil. He was in favor of that because once again, those trees are severely fatigued, and they any windstorm will just will take them down, and they will land directly on the utility line. So I was hoping to get a permission to remove that one still live tree, and doing so, remove the dead stuff around it. So that's pretty much it. I think we all muted.
Yep. Is the tree warden highway superintendent on this meeting? If so, can you unmute yourself? I do not hear him.
So yeah, Jen, just to update on the mute situation, because of some audio issues, we had to mute all. So Bob Largest, I saw you talking. If you could just unmute yourself.
It's the little speaker at the top of the screen. No, you're gonna. Kyle,
I can
can you?
unmute. I can ask him to unmute, but
Bob, we can't hear you. Can you push the microphone at the top of your screen that's got a little red line through it?
there we go.
There you go.
All right, it said hit unmute.
Perfect.
I didn't touch it.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, what I was just waiting to see if Matt Stencil, the tree warden, was on the meeting. And I did send him a text message. I haven't received anything back from him. So I was just calling up an email from him where he gave his input on the meeting. So I was going to read that to you. In the meantime, are there any other public comments other than the tree warden's comments that I will read into the record? If you have a public comment, you'll need to unmute yourself, raise your hand, and ask the host to unmute you. No?
I don't see anyone raising their.
All right. Okay. So
I-
let me see if I can find this email from the tree warden. Okay. All right. So what he said was that it is an assistance to the town to remove the dead trees that are being removed. He would still recommend the minimum, the $250 donation for the healthy tree that's being taken down, but that is up to the board because this applicant is assisting the town by removing some dead trees that could become a problem in the future. So that's the input of the tree warden, highway superintendent.
And Greg, this is Bob Rogers speaking, and I'm assuming that you've already spoken to the tree warden and about trees on scenic roads. And typically, and thank you very much, first of all, for coming in and doing it the right way. Because unfortunately, so many people don't know about the shade tree laws that you're supposed to, and they cut trees down not knowing that they weren't supposed to do that. And when someone does that, it's always an option to plant a healthy tree someplace else in town that it basically has the same value and gets put someplace where it makes good sense. It could be at the school, it could be at the common. You can drive by and tell your family you bought the damn tree just to get the driveway clear. But I didn't know if any board members wanted to weigh in at all. We have no one else coming in from the public. So is there any comment from Wally?
No, I don't. No, I've driven by the site and, the tree warden is good with it and I'm good with it. So,
Yeah.
No problem.
All right. And next is Bill Talcott.
Is that the typical precedent, Jen? We ask for a donation to put a tree in some other applicable spot that's better?
Yes, yeah. Usually when you take down a tree, a public shade tree within the town's right of way, as is happening here, you would ask for a replacement value, typically a new tree in the typical 2.5-inch size that we require developers to plant on sites. No bigger than that, is about 200 to 280, 300. So the tree warden said, he would recommend 250, but would defer to you for the value of the other trees being removed here, which could otherwise cost the town money to remove. So it's up to you. You
Yep.
can follow the strict language, which is do the donation, or you can say, hey, you know what, there's another benefit being gained here from the removal of damaged trees. So we'll give them up to you.
Okay.
Answers your question, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Who's next? Mike Hagan?
I just had one minor question for Greg. On the application, it talks about 4 oak trees that are completely dead, 1 oak with declining health, and 1 birch that is healthy. But on the plan, it looks like 5 trees proposed, or is it actually 6 trees that are proposed for removal?
Well, it's one healthy tree, the bird tree. That's what what I was trying to get a permission for. And obviously, the dead trees around it, there are probably 4 trees on one side and 1 oak on the west side to the property, to the driveway. It's completely dead. So speaking with Mr. Stencil, he said just take those down. And this is a great favor to the town because it's going to cost us, you know what the tree removal costs, probably anywhere from $500 to $1,000 probably. So he said, if you take those down, that's a great, compensation for the 1 birch that it's really in the middle of your driveway right now. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Kyle?
That's all, Bob. Yep.
Nothing right now.
Nothing right now? Okay. And for the board to consider the $250 to plant a new tree, for Greg, I can bet when you take down the dead trees and the wind blows, those dead trees did a good job of protecting a whole bunch of other trees that are going to be compromised now. So, yeah, in the end, it's great to do it the right way. Appreciate that. And be aware of that once you start taking dead trees down, they tend to protect and shield all the healthy trees that are in that area where you're going to be putting your driveway. So look a little deeper into the woods because there may be some more coming down. But I want this to move forward. So it's the board's pleasure. I guess I can ask a board member to make a motion to remove the dead trees and the one healthy tree with $250 given to the town to plant a good tree. See if anyone wants to make that motion. I get a second, we'll take a vote, have a discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure there's no other public comment out there before we do that.
Okay,
Can we just give it, if there is any public comment on this, we'll just give it a few beats for anybody to unmute themselves and just say, hey, I have a comment.
Bob, can I just make one comment?
yep,
I think I'd like to at least propose possibly waiving the $250, given that 5 other dead trees are going to be coming down. I mean, we see
okay.
it around town, a lot of trees falling, and I'd like to at least throw that out for discussion.
You can
Waiving
make that the motion, Mike. We'll vote that way.
Okay.
So make that motion if you'd like to.
Okay, I'd like to make the motion to accept him taking down the 6 trees and also waiving the $250 donation in lieu of the cost of removing all those 5 dead trees. Michael Gagan.
Then we'll second that motion.
Thank you, that's a second. So if there's any comments for anyone on the board, they can make that payment, make that for further discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, I'll start with myself. This is Bob Largis, and my vote is going to be to put $250 towards a new tree. Next is Wally, your vote.
I thought the motion was to waive the $250 fee.
So that's why I'm a no.
Oh, you're a no, okay.
I'm a no.
Wally Baker is a yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bill Talcott,
William Talcott is a no.
you're a no. Okay. And there's Mike Gagan.
Mike Gagan is a yes.
All right. And Kyle.
I'm a yes.
Okay, so 3-2 carries, and that means the trees come down and you don't have to plant the tree. Good job.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much, board.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Need a motion to close this public hearing.
I'll make a motion. Kyle Burgess, make a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Kyle. Can I get a second?
I, Wally Baker, second it.
Okay. All those in favor? This is Bob Largis. Closed. Aye.
Wally
Go ahead,
Baker,
Mike.
closed.
William Talcott, I agree.
Mike Gagan.
Mike Gagan, I agree. Close the meeting.
Ferguson, aye.
Okay. Good job. Next we have is an additional action items. We have a Form A plan for 6 to 12 Lackey Dam Road.
I believe we have Byron Andrews from Andrews Survey here after a month-long wait to present this to us. Kyle, if you want, Kyle will share the plan to the screen and you can walk us through it, Byron.
Sounds great.
All right, so give it a sec. Kyle, can you share that? Great. Go ahead, Byron.
Okay, good evening. My name is Byron Andrews with Andrews Survey and Engineering. I'm representing 6 to 10 Lackey Dam Road series of the Go-Go Hut Realty Series, LLC, and Marjorie Hutnack. What we would like to do is to adjust a property line. If you look in your lower right-hand corner of the plan, you can see the current configuration of the parcels in question. Assessors map 51 lot 77, assessors map 51 lot 85. They're in the same ownership, and that's Marjorie Hutnack's land. The 6 to 10 Lackey Dam Road series land is map 51 lot 86, map 51 lot 76, and also map 51 lot 75. The lots as they are laid out on the plans and the deeds of record do not conform to the current zoning requirements for the town. Therefore, as a practical matter, assessors map 51 lot 76, map 51 lot 75, and map 51 lot 86 are merged as one parcel. So what we would like to do is to adjust the property line. If you look at the plan in the center of the zoom in, you can see there's a solid dark line to the southwest of the jagged line that separates the two ownerships, where we would like to move that line, the property line, down to that line. The purpose for that is, if you look closely at the plan, you can see that the driveway for map 51 lot 77, Marjorie Hutnack's land, crosses over at that jagged spot there onto the next property and doubles back again. So we just want to move that line down so that the occupation line and the driveway match the new property configuration.
Crystal clear.
Thank you.
So Byron, so in summary, taking pre-existing non-conforming lots, looks like you might be, are you making one of them conforming now?
Yes, that's right. The 6 to 10 Lackey Dam Road series land would be a conforming lot. Marjorie Hutnack's land would not conform in terms of frontage, but it would be more conforming than it is currently.
Great. All right, so the board has a copy of my Form A checklist. The plan meets all the Form A checklist requirements. And then the taxes are also paid. So this plan is ready to go if you so choose to make a motion to approve the Form A plan, reconfiguring these two lots, not creating any new buildable lots.
Any board would like to make that motion?
Everybody's muted, so.
Except me.
Are we discussing 2 lots or 3? I'm sorry, I saw that the existing one, the old one had, was it 3 lots?
Byron, do you want to explain?
Sure, yeah. When the lots were created, there were 3 lots, which is, again, if you look in the lower right-hand corner, you can see the 3 separate lots.
Right.
However, the zoning requirements changed subsequent to the creation of the lots. As a result of that, the 2 lots that are in the, or actually 3 parcels that are in the same ownership of the 6 to 10 Lackey Dam series were merged.
Okay.
So currently, in terms of, in a legal sense, that currently there are two parcels, and we're just moving the line between the 2 parcels to the southwest.
All right, so now it's turning into 2 parcels.
Yes, it would result in 2 parcels. Again, because the 2 of the previous parcels didn't conform to the zoning requirements, they are legally, by the doctrine of merger, they are legally merged. So really, as far as the assessor and as far as legality is concerned, they're one parcel, although they show as two parcels on the plans and on the assessor's maps.
Okay, gotcha. And the reason for that initial jag looked like it's because it went around the house. Is that what it was, Mike?
Yeah, I'm not, to be truthful, I'm not certain of the purpose of the original jag, but it looked like it was to go around the house and to incorporate part of the driveway, but it didn't, and either all the driveway wasn't in place at the time, or they didn't feel the need to include all the driveway at the time.
Or it could have been, there might not have been a garage at the, yeah, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay,
That answers the question, Bill?
yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So who else we have to hear from there? Mike Gagan?
You need to unmute you.
No comments at this time, Bob.
Okay. And Wally, have you any comments?
No.
Okay, you're all set. And I need to hear from Kyle.
Yeah, nothing at this time.
Okay. Then if someone wants to make a motion that we approve Form A for 6 to 12 Lackey Dam Road, I'll take that motion.
I, Kyle Bergs, make a motion to approve Form A plan. The 152 Lackey Dam Road.
Need a second?
I, Michael Gagan, second the motion.
Okay. There we go. Any further discussion from the board?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor? This is Bob Largis. My motion is aye.
Wally Baker, my motion is, Wally Baker, I vote aye.
William
you.
Dalcott, aye.
Thank you, Bill.
Michael Gagan, aye.
Thank you. And Kyle?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. And the motion carries with a 5-0. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That plan gets endorsed and you just need to make these copies.
Good.
All right.
Next is a Form A plan for 207 Mendon Road.
All right. I think we have Ralph. Ralph, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm
Or-
here.
Awesome. So what we'll do is, again, we'll have Kyle share the plan to the screen, and if you could just talk us through what's going on here. I believe this is a simple division of one parcel into two, but it is a big parcel, so it's two plan sheets. So Ralph, you want to walk us through?
Sure. Good evening. This is Rauf Mankaris with Alpha Omega Engineering. We have 207 is about 17 acres plus. It has about 800 foot of frontage. Existing wetland was delineated and approved by the Conservation Commission.
I lost her. Can't hear.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh, I got you now. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. Somebody unmuted me.
It's usually me. Go ahead, Raul.
It's all right. So, I mean, the parcel itself is about 17 acres plus. The wetland was delineated and approved by the Conservation Commission. We have about 800 foot of frontage for the total parcel. So we have plenty of frontage for the two lots. For the wetland, there is no option for dividing this land anymore because of the wetland. And we're only proposing two lots. And basically, that's all what we have here. Jen asked for setting some monuments on the property, and that was done, and this is shown on the plan right now. That's all we have.
Thank you. Good job.
Thanks.
I want to make a note here that the taxes have been paid. That's how you get on the agenda. If there are any questions from anyone in the public would like to make comments on the proposal, the 207 Mendon Road. And Jen, you're not hearing from anybody?
No, and you have my checklist, as Ralph noted. As we often hear from Nick Nunemacher, who hasn't been able to attend our meetings. He's a registered land surveyor, one of our Board of Assessors, and especially on large parcels like this, he often comments that you really need to have enough pins and markers out in the field to replicate a survey. And while a lot of the back portion of these lots is wet and not practical to really monument back, I did ask Ralph, in accordance with our sub rules and regs that require all survey points to be monumented, to at least give us a few more monumentation points along the frontage of the lots. The lot owners know where their lots start and end along their front, and along the side lot lines where a house and septic is likely to be located. So there's less chance for conflict between these lot owners and the owners of the lots to either side. So they did set those monuments, and now we have quite a few monuments on these lots.
Good job, Rob.
Thank you.
I hear no comments coming in from the public. So I guess I need someone from the board to make a motion to approve the Form A plan 207 Mendon Road.
I, Kyle Bergs, make a motion to approve the Form A 7 Mendon Road.
Well, I need a second.
I Mike Gagan, second the motion.
Okay. Any other comments from board members? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
No.
All those in favor, Bob Largis, and I'm voting yes to approve Plan A. Form A.
Wally Baker votes yes.
Thank
William
you.
Talcott votes yes.
Thank you.
Mike Gagan votes yes.
Kyle Bergs.
So it passes, it moves with a 5-0-0 vote from the planning board. Thank you.
And Ralph, I'll coordinate getting those plans and getting them
Thank you.
signed.
The next item that I have on the agenda is the IBA site plan amendments.
Okay, we have engineer Brian Melissi, who is in the meeting. Brian, if you want to go over that, and you can let Kyle know which plans you would like shared to the screen as you speak.
Okay, great. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Brian Melissi. I'm with Whitman and Bingham Associates. We are the civil engineers of record for Lot 10 Gilmore Drive, better known nowadays as 103 Gilmore Drive. I believe it's probably just about a year ago, June of 2019, that we were in front of you guys and you guys approved this site. It has been under construction if everybody's been up there. And through the applicant and the owner, Bob Belcito of IBA, he wanted us to ask the board for a couple of minor modifications and some housekeeping items. The first, and in no particular order, some of the board members may remember the issue up on Gilmore Drive with the natural gas. And Jen, you can pipe in here if I say anything wrong, but the natural gas is not going to be available for at least another year or 2 years. So our plans did call for a subsurface propane tank farm. We would like to change that to an above grade propane tank farm. It'll be housed, and it's one of the other plans, Kyle. I believe it's a sheet 10. That's a cut sheet of the propane tanks. It's going to be 4 1,000 gallon tanks at 4 foot in diameter. If you want to just scroll down, Kyle. That is just a very quick schematic of what the tanks will look like. 4 above ground tanks on a 20 by 28 foot concrete pad. We do show a 6 foot high vinyl fence around it with some protective bollards on the inside of the fence. And it's going in an area where we had shown a dumpster pad on the approved plans.
Kyle, if you go to, yes, now scroll down the page. There you go.
Perfect. You'll see the ballooned area at the top of the page and the little highlighted square, that is where the above-ground propane tank farm will go. The approved plans again showed a dumpster pad there. And because there's a compactor pad in the tractor trailer loading dock areas, there's no need for above-ground dumpster pad. So they want to put the propane tanks on this pad. It will be screened, again, with a 6-foot-high white vinyl fence. The tanks are only 4 foot in diameter, so nothing will be seen. It is going to be tucked behind an earthen berm that was part of the original plans. And it's going to be piped underground to the north, I believe it's the northeast corner of the building, where it will obviously supply the building with propane gas until such time as the natural gas is available. And then the transition will be made and the above ground tanks will be taken from site. The contractor and the owner thought that this was a little bit of an easier way to dismantle the tanks rather than leave 4 tanks underground or have to excavate them out again. They want the opportunity to put those above grade. We did supply a landscape plan, and the landscape plan will come up a little bit on one of the other questions, but the landscape on the earthen berm, we have trees, we have the white vinyl fence, and really it's above grade to the butters to the north, and really it's not going to be seen by anybody. Did you want to go one by one, Jen? Did you want me to finish up, or?
Yeah, well, why don't you go back to that first plan now, and you can tell Kyle, tell the board what's happening on that first plan.
Okay, so Bob Belcito, again, the applicant, the owner of IBA, asked us to stripe the parking spots a little bit bigger, rather than the 9-foot wide typical width of a parking spot. He would like to stripe these things at 10 feet wide. A lot of his employees, I guess, that drive the trucks, drive pickup trucks themselves, and he wanted to provide them with a little bit of a wider space. So what we did was the original approved plans called for 12 spaces to be kind of quote unquote banked. We weren't going to pave them right away. If we needed them, we were going to be able to just go out and pave them and add them. So what we did do, because of a little bit of wider space, is we're going to pave that area and provide a bank of parking at 10 foot wide rather than 9 foot wide. The original approved plans called for 75 spaces. The current plan, we have 83, only because we didn't think it was prudent to not pave a little bit of that area, and we just called for that paving. Along those lines with the parking areas, Bob wants to eliminate 3 of the islands that were left over along the inside of the building, the pavement edge. Again, some of the people on the board may remember, you voted to approve the elimination of a couple of the islands along the northerly side. And Bob wants to get rid of the 2 at the front of the building, or the east side, and then carrying along over on the north side where those handicap spots are. And the reason for that is strictly for plowing. Bob likes to plow his own parking lots, and he really thinks it's going to be a nuisance and they're going to get torn up. Those islands did house a couple of trees, some shade trees along the inside of that building. And if you go to the landscape plan once again, what we did is we took all the landscaping and we moved it to the south side of the building, where it could be seen as you drive down the connector road, or the road to the middle. And so because we get rid of islands, we don't lose any plantings, and we found a home for the trees that were displaced because of those islands.
Good job, Brian.
All right. So these are they're field changes, but they're field changes that were a little more significant than just minor adjustments in the field that I'm comfortable approving, or our engineers comfortable approving. So that's why Brian has these materials, is requesting the board approve the field changes. So there's 2 that are related: the removal of 3 interior islands and the widening of parking spaces, and then immediately building out the banked parking spaces that weren't going to be built out right away. So that's kind of one motion. And then the other one would be the approval of the above ground propane pad. And I have provided you with some commentary from the fire department who are okay with that. I did not know, but I learned during this process that the Board of Selectmen also have to grant approval for that propane. I guess once you get over a certain amount of flammable fuel, you need a permit from the selectmen. So that'll go through a hearing process with the selectmen as well.
Jen, is there anyone calling in from the public?
Hey. Mark's, let me see, Mark's iPad. Is that anybody? Mark, I think that's Mark is with the Amarellos.
That's correct.
Okay, good. And then 868-4079.
It's I'm here.
Okay, and so that one no public comment then on this, I don't think, unless anybody wants to unmute themselves. No, I see no
Okay.
comments on this one.
So I guess a chance for any board members to make any comments that they'd like to make about the proposed field changes that are capitalized field changes, obviously. Usually they're much smaller than this. And I'll let other people weigh in first or weigh in last.
I have a couple, Mr. Chairman. What, if someone could jog my memory about, I thought there was something to the effect of the propane tank. We're gonna come in on a trailer, and then empty ones come in, and then full ones come in, empty ones go out, until they get set up with the natural gas.
That's actually for Prime Metals, the site just to the south of this one.
Never
So,
mind.
right, we are actually trying to get enough portable CNG, compressed natural gas, to serve both of these businesses from the beginning, but it wasn't possible to have an economical natural gas system. So IBA had to go with propane until the actual natural gas main is pulled to the site.
And second of all, I remember when we had the discussion about the islands, and I think we pretty much, I think Bob mentioned that it's gonna be tough to plow, and now all of a sudden it comes back. But what does it do to the paving those other spots? Does it affect the impervious area and the coverage and all that, Jen?
That's a great question. That's one's to you, Brian.
Yep, I can answer that. No, the original drainage report that we passed in the stormwater system was sized to handle that impervious area. When we get to that point of the meeting where we were going to remove that or bank that paving, we did not change any of the stormwater network. So what we had said was when and if that paving had to go in, it was not going to alter anything to do with the stormwater system.
I remember that.
So the three parking lots or parking space size islands that you are adding to impervious isn't substantial enough to cause any change in the drainage though.
Okay.
Right, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely correct. Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
Done.
Wally, did you weigh in on that?
No, I was down there the other day. Looks like things are progressing, and I think we should just move forward on this.
Okay. Let's see. Mike Gagan.
No comments at this time.
Okay. And Kyle.
I have nothing.
Okay. And this is Bob Largest. Because I found my own driveways, it makes great sense. The question I'm asking about is, do you have a place, I assume, because you've done everything else right, you've got a place to push the snow to when you start plowing the driveway. It is great to not have all that stuff in the way. So I hope that's on a plan someplace where the snow is going to get stored. And then just another question, putting trees, the new trees you're putting, would they be better planted on the opposite side where the neighbors are? Putting trees between two buildings in an industrial park, I'm not sure if anyone's going to even notice those trees go in. if they even live there. They might want to be someplace else on the property, creating more screening for the people that are next door. Just a thought. But I'm happy with the plan that's in front of us.
If I may, Jim? If it pleases the board, we can certainly find a home on the northerly side of the building for those trees. I would just maybe offer, once the site has been done being graded and we kind of place the trees, we'll try to find a home for them rather than squeeze them in there. But yeah, it's probably a good point. We were asked to put some landscaping on the southerly side of the building. So I will take the kiss for that one. I took the trees and put them on the south side, but we can certainly jockey them to the other side of the pavement on the north side.
I think they'd be better for the neighbors on the other
I
side.
agree with that.
All right,
Okay.
so you do this as two separate motions because they're different issues, or if you feel strongly about both of them, you can try it as a motion. But we need at least one motion with both field changes or one motion for each of the two different kind of field changes.
Well, thank God Wally's here and he can make the motions for us. Vice President there. Want to make the first motion?
I make a motion that we remove the two islands in front of the building and the pavement in the quote-unquote future parking area is put in along with the 10-foot wide lane striping. And I might as well throw the other one in here, is also to install an above-ground propane tank for use until the underground line gets totally completed.
Need a second?
Hi, Kyle Burke, second that.
All right. How about the trees?
Oh,
You
sorry, I
want the
forgot about the
planted
tree.
on the next to the neighbors?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, we'll plant the trees on the next to the north side of the the parking area,
Okay.
if
So that's-
possible. Yeah.
So that's the motion with a second. All right. Any further comment from board members?
No, I would just forward that. I think that's a good idea with the trees if possible, as you mentioned, Bob.
Mhm.
Good job. Okay. Then all those in favor, this is Bob Legis. My vote is aye. Wally?
Wally Baker's vote is aye.
Thank you, Bill.
William Talcott, aye.
Mike Gagan?
Michael Gagan, aye.
And Kyle Burgess.
Kyle Burgess and I.
Okay.
Great. I will write up that approval as a letter. You will get a copy of it shortly.
Okay. This isn't a hearing. We don't have to really close anything. We did motion. We're done. Right?
Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good job. Next item on the agenda is 34 Providence Road, nose compliance. It is one in the public that wants to tune in, get unmuted.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Chairman, you have a few things. You have a series of email communications on the subject from March through probably a week or two ago. You have a report the police department provided. You have an aerial map. If you want to share that, Kyle, we can just go over the basics. You have a letter from Unified, the company there on Route 146, and some traffic information and observations that Mr. Amarello shared with the board as well. So the site in question is in red. This is on Route 122A, Providence Road. To help you orient yourself, you can see Atlas Box is next to and behind this site. The Asplin Tree site, where you'll see the Asplin Tree trucks coming in and out, is just to the north. And then a little farther north is Mayfield Plastic, Al's Rubbish, and Triola Materials. And then you go into the town of Millbury. And then if you go to the right or to the south, you go into the town of Grafton. And then the majority of the concerns have been expressed by Conley and Walsh families. And you can see they are labeled on this plan. So you have Route 122A, and then you have some land in between. You might recognize 142 as the former approved Lynch landscaping site that got killed and never went in. And then you have Old Providence Road, and then you have these house lots that technically access off Merrill Road and Indian Hill. So this is basically the area we are talking about. So I would start, Mr. Chairman, with the Conleys or the Walshes just expressing their concerns. As you know, the board did not place a condition on hours of operation, but they did place a condition if there were noise issues that, you know, the board would try to address those and try to mitigate those if the board found them to be a nuisance. So the Conleys and Walshes have requested that the board hear their concerns. Mr. Amarello is here, so he can also take part in the discussion as well.
Okay. And thank you everyone for calling in. That's to the neighbors. And Peter, thank you for coming in. Obviously, we from all the stuff that I read from all the pages of information, Peter is making it crystal clear, all the three people who go to work and get on their property and leave to go to work. They have to get up and leave in the morning when they leave to go to work. I think the only other people that come into that building are office staff that's gonna come to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and everyone comes home. So it looks like the pinch point is before 6 o'clock in the morning, and the traffic that's on 122 heading from God knows where to get up Mass Pike, to get up to 146 and go into work for the day. I guess Peter.
Well, Bob, again,
Yep.
I would just start with the Conleys and let them express their concern.
Okay.
I don't know if Vicki Walsh is also on this call, but I see the Conleys, Sue and
Good.
Patrick down in the
Jen.
corner. I forget which member of
Great.
the Brady they're currently playing, but so, and then we can, you know, go to Mr. Amarello or his attorney Mark, I believe, is here on the meeting as well, and take it from there.
Go ahead. Ball's in your court.
Thank you. Thank you to the board for allowing us to get on this meeting. Jen, thank you for allowing us to speak as well. Peter, hello. Nice to see you. Yeah, we have some concerns, and Jen, I know you allowed us to get on here based on the noise generated by his operations. The concerns that Sue and I have here is where our house lies. It's basically about 300 feet to his property, and it's not the amount of trucks on site or anything like that. It's the starting up of big vehicles, usually 1 or 2 in the morning between 5:40 and 6-ish in the morning. They're very loud, and I know these vehicles take some time to warm up and then exit the property. That's what's creating the nuisance. Peter did reach out to me on Thursday, which I appreciated. We spoke for a little while. I didn't receive a return phone call back, so I'm not sure what, maybe Peter can speak to it. But the main concern is really just that early morning startup with the trucks. And I welcome Peter he can come by my property and see, you know, how close it is when those trucks start up. It's really loud. Just in that morning where our house is. The rest of the day, we don't have an issue. After 7 o'clock, we don't have an issue. It's just like those times between sometimes as early as 5:30, 5:40 to 6-ish. And it just seems to be a regular occurrence once the spring construction season started in March, all the way up to as recent as this morning. So we're hoping we can come to a mediation between us. And it's unfortunate it's come to this, that we have to get on a meeting for this, but you know, Jen, I know you sent some emails back and forth. We thought it was addressed. And then you sent the email back saying, based on the minutes, it was 6 a.m. So I just don't know where we go from here. Hopefully we can come to a middle ground. Just want to hear everybody's thoughts, that's all.
Well, Attorney Mark Lee, I represent 34 Providence Road Development Corporation and Peter Amarello. I think we were clear that 6 a.m. was the start time. So if the complaint is prior to 6 a.m., neighbors are hearing trucks start up on site, that's a problem. But that complaint was received prior to this meeting, and my client has been clear with his employees that if they get to the site early, they're not to be starting trucks before 6 a.m. But as far as moving the start time, when we were before the board for approvals, we said 6 a.m. would be the start time for trucks starting up and leaving the property, and that office staff wouldn't be on site until 8 a.m. And, to the best of my client's knowledge, his employees have been consistent with that. If they haven't been, shame on us. We're at least clear as to what we represented to the board and what we believe has been occurring on site. As far as delaying the start time for trucks to leave that site, right now crews are working in Boston, Randolph, and Wareham, and really need to be doing business, at a 6 a.m. start, because they've got to get out of Sutton and get on the highway and get out to those various locations. So from our perspective, we've been living up to what we represented to the board. I don't understand how, I take Mr. Conley at his word that it's 300 feet to his property, but I would point out that he lives a cross street over with butters in between him and this site. And there is a lot of activity both in the immediate area around his property, as well as traffic moving up and down 122.
If I can just add on to that or interject, the issue is not the traffic. The issue is not the traffic. The issue is the nuisance of the noise of those vehicles starting up right outside our bedroom window. It is extremely loud, and we expressed concerns about noise being a possible issue back in the fall. And if we had known the amount of noise generated by these vehicles, we would have had more of an issue. It's not a car starting, it's not a pickup truck starting. It is they're very loud vehicles that awaken us from our sleep.
Okay, and I acknowledge that. Mr. Amarello did go to the neighbor right across the street from his office and ask him about the sound level of the vehicles, and he was told it wasn't an issue for them.
Well, what may be an issue, Mark, for them may not be an issue for them. It is an issue for us. So depending, we're just, that's what we're stating, and we've been very fair. And when Peter called me, he said he'd try to come up with a solution, but we never heard back. So we're willing to, like I said, compromise. That's what we were thinking. And again, we didn't know during the October meeting what the startup of the trucks meant. I know you were clear when you said you were going to start up trucks, and I welcome you. Like I said, Peter, you can come to my house and see, anytime you want. That's what we're.
So
Sue's point is not the traffic. It's just that starting up of the trucks. It takes time to get the air brakes going. It takes time to pull that vehicle all the way around.
Right. And you're saying there's a compromise from the planning board. See, I thought we did our job, and maybe we didn't, because I thought they'd be starting their vehicles and leaving before 6 would be a problem. But at 6 o'clock it was going to take place. And you're saying, we're just suggesting there's a compromise. What do you suggest that compromise is? They can't be there on Saturday or Sunday, and they can't be there before 6 o'clock in the morning, leaving their trucks. And I just, what can we do? What can we do? I guess I want, like, how can I help?
Well, I'd be welcome to hear what Peter says, or as Lori, I don't know. I just want to welcome, I mean, I'm trying to be fair here, because it's
Yeah.
not about the business in the backyard. It's about that 6 a.m., you know, when 7 o'clock comes, you
It's
know,
quiet again,
we
yeah.
understand, we understand it because 7 o'clock's reasonable. And Peter stated that Saturday that they started up and worked, it was an anomaly. So I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I mean, what's a middle ground? 6:30? I don't know. I'm just trying to be.
Is this, okay, the actual business itself, is it in the village district, the OLI?
It's, I believe it's in the village district.
Okay, yeah, that's what it looks like.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I guess before compromises are discussed, it's the board has to make the determination that there's a nuisance. The board deems what is a nuisance and what isn't a nuisance, and whether sound mitigation is necessary. And I don't think we're there tonight. I haven't heard of the board making an on-site visit or being there at 6 o'clock in the morning and hearing these trucks start up. Bob, I think you're muted.
No, he's good.
Okay.
Um,
Bob.
Did any of the members
Bob.
get it to make their visits?
Yeah, I went by there today. First of all, it's kind of difficult to deal with items such as this. But I am looking at the Sutton Police Department, besides the emails that I've been through. William Jackson, Sergeant. In his opinion, the business at 34 Providence Road were respectful while entering and exiting and only started their equipment on an average 2 to 3 minutes prior to the party. And, you know, I wasn't on the board when this initially, it's a special permit. And if there were 35 other residents coming down screaming and yelling, I think I would feel, more sure about that there's really an issue or not.
Bob, can I just make a comment?
Go ahead, Mike.
Bob, no, when I first read through all the emails, in my mind, I was kind of thinking that maybe these trucks are starting when they don't need to start. Maybe they're running and the guys are going in to have a coffee, waiting an extra long time. But I also, when I did read the police report as well, and for the officer had been there 4 or 5 days, it appeared that, they are there only a minimal time, 3 or 4 minutes. So it didn't seem to be excessive of staying there longer than they need to. Just my thoughts.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Mike. Any insight from Wally or from Kyle? I don't know what to say.
Wally, you're muted. There we go.
Wally Baker here. I did note one of the Sergeant Jakes pointed out that one of the days the things that started up were actually at the Allied group, and which is directly behind where this facility is. How you discern where the noise is coming from. And I drive by there frequently. That's the Allied group is pretty active. And I also live at close observation of Boston Road. And their trucks are running from their main facility here over to Hopkinton, almost like 724. So they're constantly going up and down the wee hours.
Wally, the issue is not the traffic on 122A. The issue is the volume of the noise generated from his truck starting and exiting the property. That is the nuisance that we are describing.
Is there something about these trucks that we should know? Like, are they no mufflers or exhaust systems, or are they in compliance with, do they meet, you know?
They must get inspected.
Yeah,
But
are they
do they-
inspected or
They do. They do.
Do you think it's just because they're diesel vehicles? I mean, and granted, the tractor trailers are diesel vehicles too, and definitely are loud when they start up. But I mean, the board certainly has the ability, if they want to, or feel it's necessary, to go sit during the particular time of day. I hear that several members have kind of gone during different times of the day, maybe not this early in the day, and it kind of gauge the distance and gauge what they hear. But you are hearing from the Conleys that it's a very specific time period and a specific action that's creating the nuisance in their opinion. So if the board wants to continue this to their next meeting, then, you know, you can do an actual morning site visit during this time period, and sit on Indian Hill or Merrill Way. They actually run right into each other, and take a listen. Does the majority of the board want to do that?
Other than the start time, what are the possible solutions to this? Are we talking like a larger fence with some type of sound resonating equipment on it, or are we special? I'm just guessing at what type of solution we could have. Brainstorm.
Right. I mean, I think part of the issue is that the Conleys' house is up gradient. It's above this site in terms of elevation. And you know, sound, many of you, especially you, Mr. Talcott, who were chairman at the time, learned a lot about sound when we had Home Depot distribution proposed on the south side of town. Sound carries pretty crazy, and up in elevation is typical. Now, you do have a lot of trees between here and there, so it can be doing all kinds of crazy things. But we did try initially, Mr. Amarello tried almost immediately having his crews park the trucks directly behind the building, using the building as a block. So he was very clear and compliant with no loading of anything in the morning. You get the trucks ready the night before, you face them going out, and you just get in and pull out. So we did try placing, the building between the trucks and the neighborhood as a sound block. As you know, we often do earthen berms and things like that. And he was very hopeful having his crews line up the trucks like that and keeping them behind the building would help. And he sent me an email saying, hey, I tried something different. I hope this helps. And I had a complaint from the Conleys before he even sent me the email that morning. So clearly it did not help. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, or if there is one.
I guess we can push this off to the next meeting. I'm stumped for a solution or a compromise. I can't understand. I can't come up with a compromise that will work for the abutter and also for the people who are getting in the trucks and driving away to go to work, to get to work at that time. I don't have I don't know what, and they have the right to be there. They're doing everything they're supposed to do. If they're getting in the cars and warming up and driving out, and it's the same number of trucks it was supposed to be, and then quiet the rest of the time. I don't know. I don't have a solution, and I'm open for a suggestion. Even if it was a big fence, I remember back to the the poor mess we had when you were the chairperson. You can build a fence 25 feet long and sound it. Guess what? Then you're going to look at it. It's a site, that's not going to solve anything. I don't have an answer. And I guess I'll be anxious for more creative minds than mine to come up with an answer, because it was approved. It's a business. It's in the village. The village has different stuff than residential, and that's the stuff that happens there. I have no insight to offer. But I do want to hear, I don't want to hear that the trucks aren't going before 6 o'clock in the morning. And from everything that I'm hearing, that should be at 6 o'clock, and it should be at 10 past 6. It should be quiet again.
I need to know from the majority of the board if you want to go conduct site visits during this hour. You can do that in your own cars. If you're going to be there more than 3 members at a time speaking to each other, you can't do that. So you can pull up in your cars, kind of unroll the windows, get out of your cars, listen. You can all stand around there in a group and listen if you'd like, but you cannot deliberate. You can ask questions, things like that. But if the majority of the board wants to continue this to the board's next meeting and then go make a visit during the subject time, we can do that. Or you can go in a different direction if you'd like.
If I can make a comment, Bob, I would be willing to do that type of site visit due to the fact that I am working from home currently. My concern with it, though, as others have addressed, is even if you stand there and hear the noise and agree with them, which I probably will, that it's loud during those few moments, I don't know what the solution is while, negatively impacting a business that needs to leave at a certain time. It's not a surprise at the time they're leaving. It was mentioned at the beginning. I mean, other than the ones before 6 o'clock, obviously, which it appears that Mr. Amarillo has talked to those people about, hopefully, and will continue always reminding his employees of that. So even though, again, if the rest of the board wants to delay it, I would be willing to do that and visit the place, but I don't know what the result of that would be any different than what we talked about tonight. So
Right. Yep.
that's my thought,
Yeah, I don't want to hear any noise before 6 o'clock in the morning. That was the deal right from the beginning. And no one else coming until the employees arrive at 8 o'clock would be the only noise that comes from that property. And then they come home. So I'm not, I hear you, Mike. We're not going to change anything by going down there at 6 o'clock. We're going to hear what everyone knows is going to hear. So trucks are going to start and leave right after 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't have a solution.
Wally, you unmuted yourself. You have something to say?
I think probably we're continuing this is a good idea and might give us, I can take an opportunity to go over there and be, up on Merrill Road or whatever. Certainly before 6 and listen to what's going on. See, sometimes over the next couple of weeks.
Okay, thanks.
I'd also like an opportunity to go over to the site early in the morning.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got the majority of the board would like to just go hear it. It doesn't sound like anybody's got any ideas right this moment of what might help. But maybe you can think on, everybody can think on that and take a good look at the site and kind of how the site's stacked. Peter, you said you tried to put the trucks behind the buildings. Since you tried that and it didn't appear to work, have you been leaving them behind the buildings, or have you just been letting them park wherever now?
No, we have parked them behind the buildings, but next to the buildings, they park in the same spot most every day.
Okay, so they are still pretty much behind the building when they start up.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the board's next meeting was supposed to be the 22nd, and then the selectmen continued town meeting on to the 22nd. So the board cannot have a meeting on the 22nd now, so we have to push our meeting to the 29th. So we would schedule this for the first item under additional action items on the 29th. And the board members should do the site visits, you know, within that time period, and maybe take a look at the site, and we can look at some other sites where we've used sound mitigation and just see if there's anything. I think a big part of the problem is the placement of the home in relation to the elevation of the business and how sound carries, and if it's even possible to mitigate that arrangement.
Okay. All right. Good job. I won't be able to make that. I'm already busy before that time of the day, so I'll count on my board members to do the site visit. My site visit would be very quiet. Thanks.
All right.
That's good.
Okay. Next slide.
Okay.
Next item we have on their agenda is the Villas Phase 3, a bond reduction.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Villas Phase 3. Villas Phase 3, we have John Burns present. We have Tim Vanderlinden and Larry Brodeur, I believe, on maybe on, I don't see you on camera, so maybe you're on phone there listening in. So you have a letter from Graves Engineering. It is a bond estimate for drawdown. You have some department requests, and we can go over those. You have some input from the condo association. You have an update from Graves Engineering from last Friday or over the weekend. And then I did also give you a copy of the last bond estimate from 2019, so you know what you're drawing down from. So in terms of department comments, John Kuchar had requested we take a look at the fence on the retaining wall and make sure that was addressed. And then we had, let me just see, I'm sorry. Then we had a comment from the fire chief about hydrant that was way too low, that needed to be raised up, and that needed to be addressed. And the order of conditions from Conservation Commission does need to be closed out. And those were those comments. And then my comment to Mr. Burns was that we still have the issue with that small section of the emergency access road that goes off the property onto the abutter's property before it enters the roadway layout, old roadway layout that was not discontinued, and that needs to be taken care of. Now, this is not the closeout for this project. Let me be clear on that. But this is the last year bond drawdown. So we want to touch base with departments and make sure the applicant knows as much as we can summarize what any big issues might be as he moves through this last major bond drawdown and gets ready to do the as-built plans that we've talked about during the discussion on 71 Fairview Drive. Before he does the as-built plans and kind of buttons everything up and gets ready to be done from his perspective with the project. So what's requested tonight is the last major bond drawdown, but not a closeout of the site yet. So you have the recommendation from Graves Engineering. It says there's about $16,000 worth of remaining work. Then there's a typical 20% contingency in there. And that was Graves's recommendation. The board has two options with respect to the emergency access road going onto the other property. They can hold some of the bond funds that are not for completed items from the previous bond estimate, or they can hold occupancy permits. I've spoken to town council about both of those. Those are both open issues, but the holding of the bond is more preferable to council. So, and I hopefully the whole issue of access onto the other property will be resolved shortly. And then we'll also be at the position, hopefully, where we're ready for closeout, and that money will not be held for any endless period of time. So, so that's kind of where we are. John Burns can kind of add to that. It is his project and it is his request. And then I can either read in some comments from the condo association, or if Tim or Mr. Brodeur want to speak for themselves, they can do that. So John, I think you're muted. There you go.
I'd just like to, a couple of things. One is, if you don't mind, I'm not looking at the screen because you mentioned some things. Some of the items that you mentioned, Jeff Walsh did put it in his letter to you today that the chain link fence was put up. John Kuchar requested that last Monday. It was put in by Wednesday. Jeff had asked for some additional things like clearing a couple more catch basins. We went out and got those done by Wednesday. He asked for certification on some filtration systems. We got that done. A homeowner made a complaint to Jen that we were missing a cover on one of the utility boxes. We went out and got that done. The hydrant at the request of the fire chief was raised by Friday. And Jeff also added if we would take care of the silt fence. We got, in addition to what was on the bond originally from back in December, that was about $307,000. We went last week and got everything done that Jeff had asked us for. Would you agree with that, Jen? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Jen, you're muted.
He muted. All right.
Sorry about that. I was bound to do that at least once. You have an email from Graves Engineering, or the board does, that says, you know, gives the summary. I believe it was CC'd to you. Yeah, he said you got a lot of those additional items done. He would recommend right now that the bond, he wouldn't adjust his last bond estimate. He would still leave it at the amount it was at. But that he did acknowledge all of the things you just said that were dealt with.
Okay. The only thing I'd like to add to that is that the this issue with the easement, what happened is, I'm not looking to point any fingers in anybody or anything, but in 2001, when the planning board approved the plans, there was a this was supposed to be an easement that got recorded. It never got recorded. A number of people missed it along the way. It is an issue. I have spoken with Randy Waterman and hope to have something worked out with him. I know that the trustees have been talking to Randy Waterman. I wasn't aware of that. We went out in good faith last week and got everything done, not knowing this was going to be surfacing until probably about Monday or Tuesday of this week. I knew the issue existed out there, but I didn't know it was going to be issued something like this. So we went out and did about $250,000 worth of work, hoping, you know, with the expectation that the bond would be reduced so this work could be paid for. So my point is that we've gone out in good faith and done things. We've had a very good relationship. I did see some of the emails that the association, I think I saw one of them maybe. So I don't know what else, where they're coming from, but I think I would have had an agreement with Mr. Waterman by now, but I guess it's been prolonged with the trustees to try and make some type of agreement with them in regards to other issues.
Jen? This is Bob
Uh,
Rogers.
Yes,
And thank you, everyone that's been weighing in so far. For myself, anyways, I can't imagine what it's like being for everyone involved in projects like now in the world that we're living in. And I'd like to see us. I want to release from the bond what we can release. But that encroachment thing is a fly in the ointment, if you will, that's going to have to be. Can we put a dollar amount? That's I don't want to get if all parties don't come to some agreement, recognizing that a lot of people dropped the ball, but ball's moving now. We need to. Can we put a dollar value on what that's worth so this thing can move forward? Or do we just put holding out the occupancy permits, all that other stuff, that's not being clear enough for me. I'd like to get some hard number that we can put on that. That's going to make this to some agreement is going to be forthcoming, and it's going to be soon. Before our next meeting would be wonderful.
Could I make a recommendation for that? We have 307,000 in bond outstanding. Maybe 10% of that, put $30,000, hold that, in addition to what the other items that Jeff is referring to.
I'm just asking for numbers that if that makes us move. Thank you. Jen?
I actually would be more comfortable just because we don't know the scope of what it will take to resolve this. If it doesn't get resolved, I fully anticipate it will be resolved, but we don't know what the scope would be of a restitution or a resolution, better word, if it needs to be resolved by us. And we're talking a very short period of time. So I would just recommend holding the contingency that's in the bond now. In addition, either that total number, 50,000 for the whole bond, or that contingency plus the 16,000 in outstanding work. So you'd have about 66,000 for a very short period of time. Hopefully by the end of the next meeting and the end of June, things could be resolved, if not the very first meeting in July. So that's where I would go with it. I don't think I would attach the occupancy permits as well, or instead, that's a little bit stickier. It's doable, it's completely legal, but I don't know that I would go there. So we haven't heard, I don't know, I do have the one email from the association, unless Mr. Vanderlinden or Mr. Brodeur, who are on a phone or a Zoom call, would like to tag in and have something to say. If not, then I'll just read their commentary in. No, I don't see anything unmuting. Okay, so let me just read that one email. Oh, you're there?
I'm in. It took me a minute, but I'm in.
It's okay. I need a lot of minutes.
Yeah, well, I pushed the wrong button. So this is Tim Vanderlinden. I'm here with Larry Broder. We happen to be on the board of the association, and we really only have one concern. The items John listed off that have been ticked off, and the fire hydrant and all that stuff, I'm sure are done. We walk over there frequently and they all seem to be done. We have a copy of the Graves thing. Doesn't seem like there's anything very big there. So our biggest issue, you may or may not know, we were served with an encroachment notice that 700 feet, by the way, not a little short area, of the current emergency access road encroaches on the new project next door. So we are in, as John said, active discussions with them. We really expect to be able to reach an agreement with them to move forward. And if we do, then the issue resolves itself. And in fact, John or Blackbrook or the town, whoever you want to say, would be relieved of having to deal with the problem. So we're well into the process. We hope in the final strokes. We too expect it to be done in the next, we hope by the end of June, and plan for it to be done by the end of June. But as you perhaps all know, deal's never done till it's done. So for that reason, I guess, we just want to be sure that everyone involved is in the spot where there's going to be money left to somehow fix the problem that exists. Because, you know, from an association point of view, while we own the ground, you know, whether it was Leclerc or John or John Burns or the town, or, you know, in some ways we don't have an input to that, and we don't really care, except that we just have to be sure that we're not left with the issue. That's all. So whatever that dollar amount is, if it's 50,000 or 60,000, then, you know, I think that would likely resolve it. I'm certainly not a construction person. Some of the choices, by the way, that were proposed or offered up by the Waterman Group along the way seem to be a lot more than 50,000, but I don't think anybody's really gone at it with how are we all going to get together to solve it. But, you know, we think there should be something set aside, and I would say even for a month, because again, we expect to have a deal done in a month, certainly, if not sooner. So that's our position. You know, we're not looking to hold John up, John Burns. We know he's getting near the end, and I don't think occupancy permits is a good idea either. We don't like the sound of that from our perspective, but, you know, that's up to you guys how you do it. So I would say if it's 50 or 60 or, you know, I don't think, you know, $10,000 is going to make a difference, but it's got to be a number that at least has some meaning to it. Let's put it that way. So
Thank you very much. Thanks for weighing in. Jen, for my seat, this isn't Sutton's. This isn't the town stuff. This is between all the other parties. We're just here to show this thing moves forward. We don't have a stake. We haven't got a horse in the race. So they have to come up with something, and we want to be crystal clear that you guys are going to have to come sooner, not later, come up with something so this thing can move forward. That's just my 2 cents. The town, there's nothing else we can do as a planning board. Any other board members that want to weigh in, I'd like to have it resolved by the next meeting so we can get it off our plate and go on to other planning board projects and try to do a good job and cross all the T's and dot all the I's. We've done everything that we thought we could do from the very beginning with this pretty complicated project. So,
If I may add one thing before the board members weigh in, and I think Tim would agree with this, is that the reason the easement may not be done by the end of the month is because it's not just about this easement. They're also, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, negotiating the terms of disturbance of villa property, such as tying into water and sewer. So it isn't as simple as us drawing up a deed and an easement. I think that might be a main factor. And I can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where it is.
okay, I hear that.
Do you think he's right? No. So, John and board, I'll weigh in on that. John probably knows all this routine better than us, but, you know, we're close to I'm going to use the word formal commitment. It may require a couple of easements to be drafted, but the agreement we're contemplating with Waterman is will include our commitment to just finish a couple of easements. In fact, we're being asked to draft those. So I think we're a little closer than John, although John's lived through a lot of these, so I guess we would defer to him. Bob, on your comment, I guess, it's funny because we've had this conversation with Jen before. We see it exactly like you do, except we're going to change the names around. We didn't approve the site plan, meaning the association. We did not put the road in. We did not inspect the road to make sure that it wasn't on somebody else's property.
Right.
So we call it the hot potato and say, okay, so it's not ours. So I don't know whose it is, but it's not ours. And I don't know who the hell's right. Maybe somebody else would have to decide it if it came down to it. But, we see it as, we don't build anything. We're an association that owns the place. So I guess that locks us
And I
in.
can assure you that everything that the planning board approves, the engineers that we all pay for go through these things and say that they're correct and it's right. And that's when I approved everything until I have a yes from all the important people who understand this stuff. And that it's in the best interest of the town. So I don't think we missed anything. It's just I'm back to town. We've done everything that the planning board can do in the past in a very complicated situation with property that's changed hands. It's been complicated for me in particular, but we've tried to do the right thing by the town from all the board members that I've been at. So, but good. Thanks for weighing in.
All right, Mr. Chairman. So where we are is we need a motion to reduce the bond or to release a portion of the bond. It was at $307,000. The Graves has gotten it all the way down to about $19,000. You have my recommendation, which is to hold the full contingency from the last bond, which is at $51,000, either with or adding in the $16,000 in additional work, or just including that in the $51,000. You have a request from John Burns, I think, which was for $30,000. And the trustees who were kind of leaving the number in your hands, but thought there should be something. So we just
If a board member can make a motion, we'll have a second and we can have a discussion.
And then we will automatically schedule this for the board's next meeting and see where we are. If we're ready for another drawdown, if we've got an agreement, if we're all the way to closing things out. But we'll at least want to keep this on the radar and see where we are as things move forward. Hopefully resolve themselves.
Great.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Bill.
William Talcott, that we accept the drawdown of the bond to Graves 16,000 plus the contingency from the last one to approximately $66,000.
Thank you. Need a second.
Kyle Bergson will second that.
Thank you. Okay, now we're open for discusussion. Thank you, Bill. I approve that. Any other comments?
Does somebody have a calculator?
Yeah.
307 minus 66.
One more time, Jen.
307,000 minus 66,000.
300,400.
No.
That makes sense? One more time.
300.
241,000.
Okay. So almost $250,000. Okay. All right.
Any comment from board members?
No, I mean, I would just say that it sounds like all the parties are working to get this finalized, and hopefully it will be very shortly. Um, I think the purpose here was to bring the bond down, and I think that's what we're hopefully doing. We will do, so I would support what Bill had mentioned as well.
Okay, any other comment from board members? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
I just ask one more point.
Go ahead, yes.
Just for clarification going forward, could we just please determine, okay, the bond amount he was recommending was 15.8 and you're making a total of 66. So can we just say what the bond amount is and then the balance is contingency so we're on the same page next time?
My motion, okay, so 15.8, and then the prior contingency was 51,000, Jen?
Yes, roughly.
For a total of 66,800, of which 51,000 is the contingent.
Got it. All set? Okay, then. Our board members to weigh in. I'll be the first to weigh in. I support the motion given by Bill Talcott. I'm an aye. Wally?
Walter Baker votes aye.
Thank you
William
very much.
Talcott, aye.
Thank you. Mike Gagan?
Mike Gagan, aye.
And Kyle?
Kyle Bergson, aye.
Okay, so it's 5-0-0.
John,
Correct.
I will process that paperwork, and you'll just need to get it over to the bank so they know that you can release that money for payments. And it needs to get recorded. I don't know how that's happening right now. I think they're still doing electronic. But I'm sure your attorney can tackle that, no problem.
We'll get
Okay.
it done.
Thank
Can I
you.
have one more request? At the June 29th, can we get on an early meeting instead of going through 2 hours? I think
Now you'll be the second, unfortunately, after 34 Providence Road, the second additional action item. There's no hearings currently scheduled for the 29th, so you may be right up at just after 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's fair.
Keep up the good work. Good night. Next, I have some administrative items. I need someone to approve the minutes for the 5/18 meeting.
I, Kyle Bergson, make a motion to approve the minutes for the 5/18, whatever
Thank
meeting.
you. Kyle, thank you.
I, Michael Gagan, second that motion.
Thank you very much. Any corrections? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. This is Bob Largis. Aye.
Walter Baker, aye.
Thank you.
William Talcott, aye.
Thank you.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Thank you.
And Kyle Bergson, aye.
Thank you. Any filings?
There are no filings.
There are no filings. That's good news. And we had some correspondence on Wedgwood Farms deed.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know that the property next door to the villas did finally change hands. It's no longer owned by Unibank. It is owned by Compton Property Development, Riches, Randy Waterman, that you met during the Wedgwood Farm approval process. So the first step in the development process next door is complete.
Good.
Good.
Well, if someone wants to make a motion to adjourn, I'd be happy to entertain that.
Kyle Bergson, make a motion to adjourn.
Need a second?
I, Michael Gagan, second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor? This is Bob Largis. Aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
William Talcott, aye.
Thank you.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Thank you.
Kyle Bergson, aye.
Thank you. We're adjourned.